Okay. Right, Andy. Today we are going to discuss on C functions. Okay. Or functions in C. Now, what are functions? Functions అంటే ఏంటి? And how do we define a function? ఒక ఫంక్షన్ అంటే గ్రూప్ ఆఫ్ స్టేట్మెంట్స్ గ్రూప్ ఆఫ్ స్టేట్మెంట్స్ విచ్ ఆర్ ఇంటర్ రిలేటెడ్. అవి ఎలా ఉండాలంటే ఇంటర్ రిలేట్ అయ్యి ఉండాలి ఒకదాంతో ఒకటి. అలానే అట్ ద సేమ్ టైం ఫంక్షన్స్ అంటే అవన్నీ కలిపి ఒక సింగిల్ టాస్క్ పెర్ఫామ్ చేయాలి. సో ఫంక్షన్స్ ఆర్ గ్రూప్ ఆఫ్ ఇంటర్ రిలేటెడ్ స్టేట్మెంట్స్ అండ్ కలెక్టివ్లీ దే షుడ్ పెర్ఫామ్ ఏ టాస్క్. కలెక్టివ్లీ దే షుడ్ పెర్ఫామ్ ఏ టాస్క్. సచ్ ప్రోగ్రామ్స్ ఆర్ కాల్డ్ ఫంక్షన్స్. ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్, మీకు చిన్న ఎగ్జాంపుల్ రాసి చూపిస్తాను చూడండి. లెట్ us say take some variables x equal to 10 comma y equal to 20. Okay, and also take one more variable called z, which is empty variable. Z equal to x plus y. Now print z, or in C language print percentile d z. Now if you see, all these three statements are related. That means if you delete one statement, then you will not get the result. And also these statements are should be written in the same order. You cannot shuffle the order. Okay. And moreover, these statements combine together to give you only one calculation, that is addition of x and y. So such related statements if you store inside an open close brace, those are called, then that is called as a block. Okay, if you store such statement within a block, within open close braces, then that is called as a block. And if you name the block, okay, followed by open close parenthesis, then that is called as a function. Okay, so if you write something in this format, then that is called as a function. Okay, void. I'll explain what is void in the same chapter. Okay, so this is called as a function, and now this is called as the function name, and this is called as the function's body. Okay, function's return type, this void is called as function's return type, function's name, and function's body. This is called as function's body. Okay, now what are the advantages of writing a function? If you have a function with yourself, you can execute that function any number of times. That means a function is such a thing that you can write once, but you can execute it for any number of times. For example, if this is a function, we can execute such function for any number of times. That concept is called write once, execute any number of times. Okay, so how do we do that? And one more important thing is, you cannot write a function within the main function. Always the function should be written outside the main, much preferably before the main. Okay, whenever you try to write a function, make sure that function has been returned before the main function. Okay, it is recommended, but even you can also write a function after the main function also. Now, as I told you, you cannot write a function within the main function, because a function cannot contain another function. That means you cannot simply take a function like here and you simply put it here. This is not a valid programming. Okay, always make sure that a function should be written only outside the main, preferably before the main function. You should write your function. And also one more important thing is you cannot put a function's name with a keyword. Okay, you cannot name a function after a keyword. Okay, so keywords are reserved words. You cannot use those reserved keywords for naming a function. Function name should be unique and it should be understandable. Okay, so whatever the functionality that the function is giving, you should name that function after that functionality. That means the functionality should reflect in the function's name. If you are writing a subtraction function, name the function name as sub, subtraction, subtraction calculation, like that. But you cannot put names like ununderstandable names. Okay, so that is the main important rule in naming the functions. Right. So this is called function definition. Now, how do we call a function? That means how do we execute this function? If you write some statements within the main function like printf, start of main, and also printf, end of main. Okay. And if you want me to execute this program, okay. So if you want me to execute this program, then you will get the following output like this. What do you think? You think addition function will be executed first and then the main function will be executed later? Or the main function will be executed first and then the addition function will be executed later? Actually, both of them are not going to happen. You will get only the main function to be executed. Only the main function has been executed, and if you observe, you could not see any other program or function could be executed. Only the main function has been executed. Okay, so the warning it has been shown in the orange color is because I did not write this include statement. But anyways, it's not the topic. So coming to the topic, if you see, only the main function has been executed. Okay, no matter how many functions that you write within a C program, only the main function will be always executed. Now what is the solution to execute this function? Okay, you may have defined a function, you may have written a function, but it will not get executed automatically. The main function has to call the other functions. Okay, in any programming language only the main function will be executed in C, C++, Java, .NET. Okay, in order to execute the remaining functions you need to call that function with its name in the main function. For example, if I say the function name is addition, right? So addition, so this is a function call, we call it as function call. That means main function is calling this function. So what happens here is, in the at the execution time, main function executes its first line and then the function call is made, addition function. So the control automatically takes this name and searches any function with this name in the entire C file. Okay, and if it finds that any function with matches that name, it executes the entire statements of the function, and then again control comes back to the same line. Suppose at line number 12, if the function has been searched, uh, if a function has been called, then the control goes and searches in the entire C file with the same name, and if it finds that particular function, it actually executes all the statements of that particular function, and after completing the entire lines of that function the control automatically comes back to the same line 12, and it continues the remaining lines of the execution in the main function. Okay, in that way control flow will be happened. So let me execute this program and I'll show you how it is actually happened. So let me put a slash in here so that you can see the results in a new line. Now if you see, what happened here is First, the main function line has been executed, and then the function has been called addition. So the control came over to the addition line, addition function's body, and executed the entire statements of that function. And again, the control came back to the function call area, function calling line, and then executed the remaining statements that was left inside the main function. In that way, functions are called and executed, and a single function can be called for any number of times. A single function can be called for any number of times. See, in that way, what do you expect? We expect 4 times that this function has been called, right? Observe this. 4 times that function has been called. So this is the other advantage of writing a function. You can define a function, or you can write a function for one time, and you can execute that function, or you can call that function for any number of times. For any number of times. And one more important point is, you can even call a function within a loop also. So let me try to call that function using a loop. I equal to 1, I less than or equal to 10, I plus plus. So this is a for loop which executes for 10 times. Recently we have discussed on loops. So this is a for loop which executes for 1 to 10 times. Now, instead of writing any print statement, I simply call the function here like this. So now what do you think? We can guess that this function will be called for 10 number of times, right? Now you can see the output where 10 times the addition function is called and executed. Observed? 10 times the function has been called, and even if you say here as 50, you can even see 50 times the same function will be called. Okay, so this is the easiest way of calling a function within a loop. Okay, you can either use a for loop, or even you can use a while loop to call the function. Even you can use do while loop also. So this is about defining a function and calling the function. Now, important things. How many functions can we write within a C file? Within a C file, .c file, you can write any number of functions, but make sure that the function names are not same. Function names are not same. Use different names for each functions, and make sure the function names are not keywords, and you should not put any spaces while writing a function name. You should not start with a number while writing a function name, and also you cannot use any symbol while writing a function name. Okay, so this is about the basic functionality or the basic function writing. Okay, and remember one thing, that this function addition has been returned all by ourselves. Okay, so that's why this function, if as returned all by ourselves, then that such functions are called user defined function. And if a function which has been already given by the C developers or C designers, and we are using that function or we are calling that function, then such functions are called predefined function. For example, here printf is a function which we did not define any functionality or function body for the printf function. It has been given already with the C software. So such type of function is called predefined function. It has been already defined, but this addition function is not a predefined one. We ourselves has defined its name, has defined its body, its contents. Okay, so the functions which are created by the programmers are called user defined functions, and the functions which are given by the C designers along with the software in the form of libraries, such type of functions are called predefined functions. Example, printf, scanf, etc. These printf and scanf functions are defined or stored in a particular header files. So this stdio.h, standard input output.h header file, contains these predefined functions like printf and scanf. As I have told you already in the previous classes, each predefined function or the group of predefined functions has been segregated and stored inside their respective header files. Whenever you need a particular function, you should include that particular header file in the program. Okay, fine. Now, let us talk about the concept called local and global variables. Now, what are local variables and what are global variables? These local and global variables are concepts to be discussed only when you are dealing with functions. If there is no functions, then you don't have to deal with local or global variables. Let us understand these types of variables with an example. Okay, so let us write a variable outside of any function, not even within the main also. Okay, let us say I have int a equal to 100. This is a variable which is located entirely outside of all the functions. And let us write one more function called void demo. Okay, inside this I'll write one more variable 200. Okay, now observe carefully. Printf, I'm going to print both a and b within the function demo, like this. Value of a is percentile d, should be print a, and also I'll write one more line which prints b. But make sure that I told you, whenever you write a function, that function is only executed when you call that function within a main function. So I write a main function. Like this. I simply call demo. Unless you call this function demo will not get executed. Make sure that function is called within the main function. That is very important, as I have told you in the very beginning of the class. Let me execute this program. Now you can see both A and B with their values has been executed. Now what we have to understand here? We have to understand that the variables which are written outside of all the functions and the variables which are written within the function both can be called inside a function. I am repeating one more time. The variables which are written outside of all the functions within a C program and the variables which are written within a function, both variables can be called in the function. Within the function, any variable can be called. That is the point here. Within a function, you can call any variable. You can execute any variable. Now, let us say pause these statements, comment these statements, and let me come to the main function. So in the main function, I use these lines again. Okay, within the main, I'm calling those lines again. Now observe carefully. Let us predict the output. Okay, so value of a is percentile d a. Where is the a? It is available outside of all functions. So a value 100 should be called here, and then we are calling b. Where is it? Within the function called demo. But where you are calling it? Outside that function. So a variable which is residing within a function is now going to be called in another function called main. Now let us see, will both get executed or we end up with an error? Yes, we have got an error. Now what is the error? Here it is, observe carefully. It is saying that B undeclared. B undeclared. It is not complaining about A, it is complaining about B. That means a variable which is available outside of all functions is accessible throughout any function of the program. I am repeating one more time. A variable which is available outside of all functions is accessible throughout the entire C program within any function. Within any function. But a variable which is available within a function is accessible only within the function but not outside that function. Okay, again I am repeating, a variable which is available or which is initiated within a function is accessible only within that function but not to other functions. Such variables which are available only within the function are called local variables, and the variables which are accessible throughout the entire C program to any function are called global variables. Okay, so this is the important point. If you have any confusion, any doubt, just pause the video, go back to a few frames and then repeat the content again so that you will get a clarity on it. Okay, so in simple words, local variables are those variables which are available or accessible only within that function. Global variables, on the other hand, are those variables which are available throughout the entire C program to any function. To any function. That is why here A has been accessed but B has not been accessed, because you cannot call a variable from one function to another function directly. Directly we cannot call by default, but there are ways that we are going to see it in the next few minutes. Okay. Now let me show you with this example. Now observe, I have simplified it. Okay, we are going to discuss the return type of a function. So this chapter is all about understanding the return type of a function. Okay, now observe carefully. Here demo is a function which contains a local variable called x whose value is 100, and I am directly accessing that value within that function only. So as I have told you earlier, a variable which is available within the function, a variable which is available within the function is accessible to that particular function but not accessible to any other functions. Okay, so main cannot access x value, but main can call the demo function where demo can access x value within itself. Now observe carefully, will this execute the x value? Yes, x value gets printed, that's not an issue. 100 has got printed. Now the question is, if main tries to print that x value, print f value of x from main is, I'm trying to print x value here, x. Now observe carefully, will it be executed? What do you think? Yes, as per the previous discussions we have seen that a variable which is local is not accessible to any other function, not including main. It is not accessible. Now if we try to execute this function, you will end up with x undeclared. Okay, now our duty is to get this variable out of this function and make sure it's available to the main function. Now how do you access a local variable to the calling function? So this main function is calling demo, right? So you can also say that this main function is also called as calling function, and who is being called? This demo function is being called. So this function is can be said as called function. Okay, so now what is a called function? The function which is being called. And now what is calling function? The function which is calling the demo function is called the calling function. Okay, right. So let us these are not that important, but you have to remember those names. Now the thing is, integer x equal to 100 is only accessible to the demo function within the function. Now my intention is to execute or call this x value or access this local variable x in the main function, in the calling function. Now how do I access it? How do I correct this error? How do I make sure that this x value should be executed within main? To make sure that should happen, you have to learn about a keyword. And now what is that keyword? That keyword is nothing but return. Return. Okay. Now what is return? You have to understand a few things about return keyword. Return is a keyword which is used only within function. If there is no function, then you should not use return keyword. Point number one. Number two, return is a keyword which is used to get the control out of the function. Out of the function. For example, if I say there is a function, let us say there is a function hello. There is a function called hello, and if I say int, if I simply write a print statement, okay, I say hello, and I repeat this statement for several number of times, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I have repeated the same statement for 10 number of times. So if I execute this program, I'll get simply um, where is the error? um, Okay, we did not write any main function, right? So of course we should have to write main function. So void main, call the function hello. That's the error. Now you can see that hello has been executed for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times. Now if I use return statement after the fifth statement, I told that a return keyword is used to get the control out of the function. Now let's execute the program and see the output. Now if you see, hello has been executed only for 5 times. The remaining 5 times, the control is not available in the function after return. So return means when the return keyword is executed after 5 hellos printing, the return keyword has been encountered and executed. When this statement is executed, the control automatically jumps out of the function. Jumps out of the function. Okay. So you may ask me, sir, what is the difference between break and return? In break also you said that break will get out of the loop or any if else condition. Then we can simply use break, right? So we cannot use break statement here. Break is a keyword where we have to get the control out of a loop or a condition, if else condition, or a switch block, but break cannot get the control out of a function. Okay, so within a function if you have any if else conditions or loops, you can only get out of that loop or the switch block, but not out of the function using a break statement. But when you use, if you use the return keyword, it automatically gets the control entirely out of the function. Remember this point. So now this return keyword is used to get the control out of the function, and the remaining statements will never get executed. Okay, so that is important point. Now the question is, let's get back to our program. Now the question is, so return is a keyword should be used only within the function, and when you write return keyword, it gets the control out of the function, out of that function. And where it gets back, the control returns back or gets back to the calling function. Suppose here demo, the name of the function is demo, and then what line you are calling the demo function? At line number 11 you are calling the demo function. After executing the demo function, that means x value has been initialized, x value gets printed, and then finally return. Return means get the control to the line number 11 again. Okay, so the control returns back to the calling line, function calling line. In this case, it's 11. Okay, and then completes the rest of the execution. Okay, so how do I use that return keyword in order to get this x value, local value, to get printed in the another function called main function. Okay, so my intention is to this local variable which is not accessible to main should be accessible and should get printed over here. This is my intention, and I am going to do that using the keyword return. I'm going to do that using the keyword return. And how do I do it? Simply ignore this. We don't have to print here, or of course we can, but in order to make things easier we simply return x. So now what I'm saying, after initializing x value, get that x value to the calling function. So this x value which is 100 here is carried over this calling line 10. So here that x value has been, okay, I'm saying that here x value has got carried, and you can simply catch that value in some other variable, or you can even use x also. And now the y variable contains the value of x. Now let me execute this. Yeah, one more important point that I have forgotten to tell you. What is that I have forgot? The thing is, whenever you are trying to return a value, any local value out of a function, that function's return type, that is void here, is not permitting that value to get out of the function. So here void is stopping this x value to get out of that function. So what do? We simply remove the void here. Okay, and that means whenever you have void here, you cannot return any value out of this function. So what you are trying to return here, you are trying to return an integer value. So instead of void, use integer, because it is returning an integer. Suppose if this is a float and you are trying to return that float value, you should write return type as float. If it is a character, you have to write return type as char, since at this case the return type should be an integer. Okay, now what happens here, a y variable will be initialized, demo function will be called, x will be initialized, x will be returned, return type allows it integer, so the directly the value comes here, 100 comes here, stores inside y, and the value gets printed in the main. Now observe carefully. Now you can see that from main you have access to the local variable from another function called demo. So in this way you can return a local variable out of the function. But remember that a function may contain any number of variables, but right now you can return only one value. Either you can return x, or you can return a, or you can return x plus a, but you cannot return x and a separately. Okay, remember that. And you cannot even write like this also. There should be only one return statement valid, because when x got returned there is no point that this statement gets executed, because the control gets out of the function at line number 7 only. So there is no chance of executing line number 8. So there is no point of writing two return statements in one single function. Okay, so either return x or a or x plus a, but you cannot return separately x and a. Now you can see the value got 300, right? So this is the concept of return keyword, or how we return a local variable to outside the function. Okay, now let us understand the parameters are also called as arguments of a function. Okay, so what are these and how we should use it? Let us try to write more functions. Void add. This function, if you observe carefully, we have x and y values here, and we are simply printing them out. From add, I am trying to print x plus y, x plus y. Okay, void subtract. I'm trying to print. This time around, observe carefully. I'm writing only integer x value. I'm intentionally not writing the I'm intentionally not writing the y value, but still I'm using y as one of the variable in the functionality of the program. And let me write one more function, multiplication. Okay, here I simply write the print statement, but I don't write any x or y variable here. So if you see here, we have multiplication, but without any x and y values initialized. You may ask me that, sir, x and y has been initialized in addition function. So these variables x and y will be accessed in this line. Can't these variables x and y will be initialized here also, will be accessed here? And why can't these variables x and y from addition function will be accessed for multiplication? As I told you earlier, remember this point very carefully. Even though the variable names are matching, but these variables are local variables to addition function. That means here x value and y value will be available or accessible only within this add function. Here x value is available only within the subtraction function. Since there are no local variables in multiplication function, there is no chance of having x and y variables here. Okay, but anyways, first things first, any function or any program to be executed, uh, you need to write main function first. So let me call addition function here and let's see the output first. Okay, yeah, if even though I have called addition function, there is an error showing inside subtraction function, as you have predicted that. Here the error showing that y is not accessible, and also let's put .h. So here again let me execute this. Now you can see that y is undeclared. Y undeclared at this line number 11 or it within the function subtraction. So if there is no y calculated, how do you calculate subtraction? Okay, so in the same case here also x and y is not available. If there is no x and y available within this function, how multiplication will be carried out? Now my solution is, addition is okay, but there is an error here, so no execution will be carried out. So I'll call subtraction function also, but my intention is I'll provide what is missing value in subtraction function. The missing value in subtraction function is y is being missing here. So what do we do it now? We simply do like this. Okay, I'll try to give y value from here. Okay, passing value while calling a function. Now how do you provide this y value while calling a function? So my intention is to provide 25 here, provide the value 25 here, and it should be carried in the subtraction function. Now how do I do it? Simply you have to catch that y value here. Now what it does is 25 will be copied to y, but simply you did not mention the data type of y. We have the data type of x, by y data type should be mentioned here, so that should also be an integer. Now 25 is copied to y and x is already available within the function, so you will get subtraction there. Now let me execute this program. Yes, here the error has been gone. Now there is only one error residing in multiplication function, which is saying x and y values are not available. Now how do you solve it? Simply call the function and provide the values there. Now if we observe carefully, we have multiplication function 11 and 3. So now let me execute this. Yes, 11 and 3 has been given here but not mentioned here. So simply mention x comma integer y. Now what happens here is 11 will be copied to x variable and 3 will be copied to y variable, and such those variables will be used to multiply here. Now observe this output. Now you can see addition has been calculated, subtraction has been calculated, and multiplication has been calculated. To make things more beautiful, let us simply put slash n. Yes, observe the output now. See, addition, subtraction, and multiplication. Now it is evident that if there is a choice of having giving the variable values while calling the function, not directly within the function. You can even call the function, you can even pass the value of one or more variables while calling a function. Now you may ask me that, sir, why we are doing that? Simply we can initialize within the function. Why we have to give the value from the calling function while from the calling time? So there is a choice. There is a reason for that. For example, if I call addition for 2 more times, what do you think the output will be? You may call addition for any number of times, but you can get the result the same. See, addition is 30, addition is 30, addition is 30. But if you call the subtraction function, you can pass a different value this time. If you call the subtraction function, you can pass a different value this time. If you pass a multiplication function, you can pass a different value this time. Okay, if you can pass multiple types of values and get multiple types of results, that thing is only possible when you have parameters or arguments. So these are called parameters or arguments. Function with no parameters, function with single integer parameter, function with multiple or double integer parameters. You can have integer, float, string, character types of parameters in the program. Okay, now observe carefully. Now you can see addition is always the same, but you can see the multiplication and subtraction, it always differs. So this is the advantage of writing parameters. So when you have a parameter within a function, you can change its input value and you can get the separate result for the same operation. Okay. This is all about parameters or arguments of a function. Okay. If you have any doubts, feel free to ask me. Okay. Thank you.